Hello everyone, this is Danelli. So back in 2021, I decided to do something a little bit crazy and I went to Europe during COVID quarantine. So join me in watching this recap of my
First leg of the trip.
adventure.
I'm all seated on the bus, seatbelts on, and we're getting ready to go.
So first things first, I actually went to Boston first. I booked a seat on a bus and it took us from New York City to Boston. I'm gonna have to record with my cell phone because I bought the camera from Walmart and I realized it doesn't really take video. So this is gonna be an interesting technological experience or adventure because I'm gonna have to make all my things in storage and just have this backpack, my ankle and my shoulder have previous injuries that I have to deal with, but I'm just gonna go for it. As you can see, I actually spent some time talking to the camera and recording some of my thoughts while I was traveling. I did have the idea that I would at some point make this video. I just never expected it to, take a few years. Actually, it's been 5 years now. But here we are, finally getting it done. I'm really excited. I just went on Groupon and I booked a few tours. Tomorrow, the 21st of September, I booked a day tour on a trolley and then also the ghost tour. That looks so much fun. And I also paid a Monday through Friday waterfront tour. So hopefully I'll do that during the day, the 22nd, before I get on the train to come back to New York to grab the plane for Spain. I really want to apologize for the audio for some of these videos. It was absolutely terrible. It was actually my old phone that I was using at the time. I upgraded since then, but I also was using a filter from Snapchat.
Hot pot stations. Oh my goodness, this looks so good.
The food did look really good, but it wasn't as good once I did eat it. This is me the next day. I obviously arrived really late. I did check in okay though, and the next morning I was up early, out to get breakfast, doing some walking around town. The area is close to the hostel. It was one of the best hostels that I've ever stayed at. The hostel name is actually High Hostel, High Boston. It was absolutely amazing, very clean, very new, modern decor. This was so lovely actually because I hadn't had Nero in forever, since probably 2012.
Keep your web feed and other froggy parts inside at all times. And no smoking or alcoholic beverages. And do what I do, drink croak of cola. Get that one? Now watch out for low-hanging branches. They have delicious bugs in them, but they can be dangerous.
Obviously, that's one of the Sesame Street characters that they use to kind of get people to follow the rules on the trolley tour. And this basically took us all throughout Boston. I mean, I had the most comprehensive tour that I have ever experienced in any major city because of this trolley tour, and they were narrating as they were going. Honestly, Boston is one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever seen. Very clean. They were doing a lot of construction during this time for some reason, even though it was like COVID. But for the most part, I did notice plenty of tourism was still going on, which was a little bit shocking for me. I did not expect that at all. I thought it was going to be like nobody on the streets. I've wanted to go to Boston for such a long time. I'm a huge history buff, so I knew that I really wanted to go to Boston before I headed out to Europe. And so I took 2-3 days and decided to just see the city, check off a few of the major tourist points, enjoy a ghost tour.
Now there to our left we can see that it is unfortunately drained due to the pandemic, just like everybody's patience with this pandemic. With the headdress of the indigenous...
The tour guide was actually a lot funnier as time progressed, and he was very informative. Unfortunately, I don't think I could retain the entire spiel that he gave us on the city, but it did make a huge impression because he really talked about how the city's divided up into basically socioeconomic like districts and all the history that there is. I was very, very impressed by him. He knew a lot of stuff.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. Everybody. And they're always there. Yeah, that's okay. Fewer people know the way.
He obviously had decided to audition for his next career as a musician or singer, probably hoping there was an agent or manager on the trolley. So here we are in downtown Boston. This was close to basically where the Liberty Bell is, and they have maps on the floor that you could follow. This is a market near the coast. It's like a fishery. There was a lot of seafood that they were selling here, fresh from the port, but I'm not a fan of seafood, so unfortunately I had to skip a lot of like the clam chowder. I know it's like a staple of Boston, but please do not like gang up against me. I did my best to find some beef and like potatoes, so I didn't have the best lunch, but this area is just beautiful. I did notice there were a lot of students hanging out in this area, so obviously several universities are close by.
He leaves all his land to his two sons. Of course, the one here at Homer Burying Ground, where we are standing right now, is the second oldest graveyard in Boston, established in 1659 as the North Burying Ground here in the North End. However, at that time, it was purchased from a cobbler, a shoemaker who lived in the North End by the name of William Cobb. And some of his kids are the first ones to be interred in the North Burying Ground. In fact, you see that little row of 5 graves, the one on the platform.
I went on this ghost tour that I was really looking forward to, and honestly, it did not disappoint.
Tour. That was so much fun. I'm just walking back the way I came back to the hostel.
As you can see, there weren't a lot of tourists at night, more than I expected, but not overly crazy amounts of people on the streets. And from what I hear, normally there are a lot of night events that are going on.
That it's not as crowded as I thought it would be. It's 7:50 and all the like tourists are gone, except for a handful of people at restaurants.
Maybe it just was not happy hour yet or something, but on my way back, I did notice
Looks like
that
everyone turned in
they were
early.
shooting a movie.
Interesting.
I had put my phone away and kept walking, but apparently the movie was featuring Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. In retrospect, I can say that it was probably Red One that they were filming.
Okay, so it is Wednesday, September 22nd. I just got up and got ready. It's 10:41 a.m. I checked last night and the checkout time is 11. So I have a few minutes before I go down and check out. And then I'm going to go take that boat tour. There seems to be a lot of really cool history just off the coast of Boston, obviously, but anyways, they have these cool boat tours, and I'm gonna go hop on one that's for about 90 minutes that I prepaid on Groupon. So far, the charger is working fine. The one problem I found was that I pulled on my regular charger cord and it's giving me some problems, so I may have to replace it. Yeah, I just, maybe technology seems to always be like the best asset, but also the worst problem when it happens. And I had to be really careful with my phone charging last night, otherwise I probably would have woken up to a dead phone. So gotta keep an eye on that. But this Benefis that I got off Amazon works really good. It's great. Thing I definitely noticed is that I may have to do an emergency stop at my storage again and switch out for the other backpack and really cut down on what I'm carrying. Leave some shoes, leave some clothes. I slept in today till about 9, then on and off. Pretty good night. It's a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be, at least here. We'll see how the rest of the trip goes. What else can I say? If I stick to the hostels, I think I should be okay. One thing I did notice though is they seem a little bit more expensive than they were maybe like 10-15 years ago. So that's gonna have to work into my budget. We'll see how I'll squeeze that in, but yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna try to see if there's any way I can leave my backpack here until I come back from the boat tour. If there's a locker I can rent, because it might be too much to carry back and forth around, given that my train doesn't leave till 9 from the Amtrak, and I don't have to carry it around everywhere. I mean, I can stop and rest somewhere, but it'd be easier if I could just rent a locker or something. I'm gonna go down and check out and grab some breakfast.
So I did end up dropping off my backpack.
So I was able to check in my bag with the hostel. They have a room where they put all the bags that people check in temporarily, and they'll hold it till 1 a.m. But I really don't need that entire time. Probably just till later this afternoon. And it seems calm and quiet today in Boston. Having some breakfast. And it was the same thing I had yesterday, and my black sweater. Today I brought both of them, both my jean jacket and my sweater, because since we're gonna go on the boat and gonna do that tour, I'm assuming it's gonna get really cold out there off the coast. So just playing it safe. Let me go tell this guy his backpack's open.
Boston was actually kind of a breath of fresh air for me. I had been feeling a little bit depressed because my grandmother had just passed away a few years ago, a little bit before COVID started, and I almost immediately went down with a very bad bout of COVID myself, to the point where I was bedridden for several months. And at that time, we didn't even know that COVID was a thing yet, because I was living in Long Beach, California. It wasn't until years later that we realized that, that was actually the very first wave of COVID. So I was kind of recovering from all of that during my time in New York and during this time. So ultimately, that all led to my decision to go on this wellness trip and really contemplate where I wanted to take my life from that point forward, because we were very much still in the middle of COVID. As you can see, it was a very gloomy day in Boston.
It looks so dark. Look at that. Okay, this is what I'm talking about in terms of why you should always have a little sewing kit. First of all, I don't know how that happened from yesterday to today. It's the first time I used it yesterday. It's meant to just carry the sweater, but it's sturdy enough that it should be able to hold other things. And it just worries me that that happened really suddenly. And at a certain point, you just start to get worried that people are actively ripping your things or sabotaging your things, especially when they're new. Like, they shouldn't really rip this quickly. Yeah, that's strange. Long story short, yeah, this small little rip just sent me like into mild anxiety and panic attack. It's just not a happy place for me. But I hope I get into that gorilla tour boat that's over there. And I hope it just makes my day better. I'll deal with the seam rip later. Sew it up. Some guy just fell off one of those like stand-up scooter things. They were taking a tour. It looks a lot of fun, but now we have these other tour people on bikes wearing helmets, thankfully, and very visible green. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but and that's their tour guide telling them what all the deal's about here. So back at the hostel, I picked up my bag and I'm charging all my devices because the charger failed me right when I needed it. Either it was uncharged or just ran out of battery and needed to recharge it, or because we went out into the ocean with the boat, it started acting up, which the girl yesterday had mentioned something about that. Anyways, plugged everything back in here at the hostel, waiting for maybe 7:30 to head out to the Amtrak, and from there I'll take off back to New York. I had dinner at an Irish pub. I think it was like the Black Rose pub or something. Successfully went from
I was super bummed out that I couldn't record the
it's not even full.
off the shore tour.
It's still kind of heavy because of the computer, so I have to be very careful how I put it down or set it down. I've been in New York since like last December, and I just saw, I think, the only payphone in the entire fucking city that's left. Oh my goodness.
I apologize for cursing, but that really was memorable for me.
On the way to Madrid, we're getting on a plane.
So I was booked all the way in the back, and I actually got really lucky on this flight because they moved me a few seats forward and I had so much more leg room. And you know, on these international flights, that's always a godsend. I always get kind of nervous on flights, like everyone else probably, but I've actually always been able to sleep on these international flights. I learned a long time ago that if I throw on some earplugs and take a sleeping pill, I do knock out because the flights are very smooth and people are required to be silent. You know, if you're super loud and noisy, somebody will say something. So I've never really had a problem. It's usually been the shorter flights between European cities that have been so chaotic, so scary for
To
me.
give us more room, and then now I'm all the way at the front, and I was actually back there.
We landed in Madrid, and honestly, the airport there is one of the most beautiful ones that I have ever seen.
And everything's so different.
The subways are
That's
amazing.
really nice, familiar. It's really weird.
And for some reason, I didn't record as much the first couple days. Maybe because I was a little bit tired from recording so much and talking so much in my videos of Boston that I kind of just enjoyed Madrid. Honestly, it was one of the most beautiful cities I have ever been to. And I know you probably are going to start thinking that I say that about every place that I go, but you will be surprised. In fact, you're going to learn in this video that no, I did not enjoy every place that I went. Here I am visiting the city, a few museums. What you see in the background there is Goya's work, if I'm not mistaken. And I was honestly in shock how beautiful these pieces are in person. So much of the art in Madrid is astounding, incredibly historical. I also just ended up taking a few long walks around the city, and again, I was very shocked at how many people were, out shopping and enjoying themselves. I ended up at a food market and I had some empanadas, some genuine Spanish empanadas. Oh my god, they were so good. Calle de Segovia is named very close to our family last name.
I'm leaving Madrid on the 28th, 2 o'clock, from one of their bus stations. I couldn't help it. I did some shopping beforehand at Primark, and then I got myself a nice backpack.
I wish I could have done more shopping, if I'm going to be honest. I will say also, though, the trip from Spain to France was not that great. This bus was really dirty, and it ended up smelling a lot.
Glad that I didn't bring a lot of the stuff that I was originally going to bring, because that gives me some room to do some shopping, which when you're vacationing, you kind of can't help. And I'm just going to wait for the bus to leave now until 2 o'clock. It's about 20 minutes from now. We'll see.
Some girl had not showered or was not aware that she had really bad BO, so that was really bad. But thankfully we were still wearing masks, so I survived.
Definitely are in the country proper. I'm going to show you.
I love Europe and Europeans and all things old world, but I'm really big on cleanliness, and honestly, I really need to shower at the end of a long day because it just makes me feel better, so I never understand why others just don't. Thankfully, though, I'm not going to hold it against whoever it was, because I've been in buses and trains in the United States where I probably have had a much, much worse experience. Some stories make us laugh. Some make us cry, but the most memorable ones are the ones we share together. Small Town Boy, Niño de Pueblo is a story like no other. Get your copy today at Amazon. It's not always about where you came from, but where you are going. Made it to France in one piece. I actually really love this hostel. It's called the Hosho Hostel. I can't pronounce it. And this is the third time that I've been to Paris, and this is a shot right after they finished reconstructing Notre Dame after the fire. It actually was raining in Paris when I arrived, and so I had to contend with being kind of wet for a good part of the day and the day after. But I actually took advantage of that and decided to tour the city, mostly using the bus system because it's amazing. It takes you pretty much everywhere. I did get off and walk for a while. Really wanted to stretch my legs after the long bus ride. I'm just hanging here at the Garden of Luxembourg. Jardin de Luxembourg. My French is terrible. I actually read it much better than I can speak it, and my speaking probably sounds like I'm 5 years old, but I give it my fair shot every time. I really planned my trip to France very well this time around. I really wanted to go to the tomb for Jim Morrison, so I booked a tour of, I believe it's Père de Lachaise Cemetery, if I'm pronouncing it right. It was so scary.
I sort of feel like Lestat or Louis is gonna pop out of a grave in around a minute. Yes. So, gotta be really, really careful.
It would have actually been Theatre des Vampires, but whatever. I honestly felt like I was about to get lost in this area because you do get turned around very easily. Eventually I did find the grave though, so that was very interesting for me.
More than a little creeped out. I'm straight through the graves. As to the side as possible.
This cemetery is so old and you can really feel a heaviness here and something otherworldly. I made it to Jim Morrison's grave. That was such a fan moment for me. I had actually tried to visit his grave once before and I didn't make it before sunset, so I'm so glad that I did this time. I also booked a tour of the catacombs this time around. I think I just lived out one of my biggest dreams in the whole world. It was a moment for me to be down in the catacombs doing a tour, and I'm so glad that I booked a professional tour because it's so easy to get lost down there, and also the information that you get is so cool. This place is amazing. I cannot believe that I have been to Paris before and I didn't go. I took so much footage of the catacombs. I couldn't possibly put all of them in this film, but this guy that you see here in the blue and I, we pretty much kept each other company the entire tour because we kept getting behind because of all the pictures and videos that we were taking. It was kind of funny by the end. You also see a lot of paintings of monoliths, and the limestone is fabulous down there. It is one of a kind. There are so many dead bodies that it just took my breath away, and honestly it humbled me so much because I realized how meaningless one of us is in comparison to the span of history, in comparison to just time itself. I can't say that the catacombs don't actually smell of anything except limestone. When I got to the hostel, I did still take a shower and went straight to sleep because the next day I went to Versailles and I lived out my history dreams. I can honestly say that everything I've read or heard about Versailles does not compare. This place is just an architectural wonder. It is so vast and enormous, and you can also get lost so easily.
You can really get lost in here. Look at that. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I wandered the grounds for quite a few hours and I saw as much as I could, but honestly, it answered some of my history questions because now I know why the lady spent so much time walking. You really just can never actually cover the entire grounds. I did walk around Paris for a while before heading out on a bus to Germany. And I have to say that this part of the trip was not my favorite. I got lost on the way to the bus and I was almost afraid of losing the bus. And the trip to Germany was a pain in the butt. I actually had a transfer / layover and it did not go well. The bus dropped us off at one station in a small town somewhere in North Germany, close to the border between France and Germany. And then we got dropped off at a station somewhere in a small town in the middle of the night while it was raining. I got really confused during this period because my German is very bad. I can't read it or speak it very well. I only know a handful of words. So what ended up happening was that I thought that I was getting a train, but it ended up being a bus.
Yay.
Eventually I made it to Munich. That was an adventure. And by far it was the calmest, quietest city that I've ever visited, or at least during this trip, because I really think the Germans took the quarantine very, very seriously. Except for one of the days that I was there during the weekend when it did actually get a little bit busy. I believe it was a Saturday because I went to Dachau that day. I got up early, took the train. I think it was near downtown. And the train takes you to Dachau, which is just at the outskirts of the city. And I was super shocked at how much graffiti there is in Germany, though. I did have a pleasant train ride. I will say that it was very smooth. And here we are at Dachau. I can't read Hebrew, but this was one moment where I really wish that I had learned some Hebrew, maybe in the future. There's a museum on the grounds, and then the tour guides take you around, telling you a little bit of the history of the place. All I can say is that it was a very somber day. I was very pleased to be there, to be able to take in some of history. But at the same time, I have not had a reaction like this to a place so touched by death. Everything is so calm and peaceful there that it borderline is eerie, but at the same time not. It is the strangest feeling. To this day, I don't think I will be able to explain the feeling that I got at Dachau. It was hard to shake off. But after that, I headed to Italy, grabbed a bus, and arrived at Naples. As you can see, the Italians said, "F you, COVID. We are so not quarantining at all." The city was a chaos. It was not at all what I was expecting. The first day that I was there, I just walked around and really enjoyed the city. Then the next day I went to Pompeii after getting super lost at the train station along with other Italians. But once you're in Pompeii, you are just blown away by the beauty of the countryside. And the history is just mind-blowing. I wish that I would have booked a tour because I did catch an earful of some of the information that some of the other tourists were getting. But you live and you learn. I really enjoyed Pompeii. Not so sure about Naples though. Maybe I just didn't drink enough wine or something. Naples actually ended up reminding me a lot of Tijuana, Mexico. And here I am suffering the next night. I missed my flight to London from Naples, and I had to book a flight to Marseille. From there, I took a connecting flight to London. I ended up staying at the Phoenix Hostel in North London, and honestly, I woke up the next day to find this disaster. I was in shock at how messy those girls were. I did enjoy a different location though. Did some laundry, walked around London quite a bit, especially at night because that was around Halloween, and I was really enjoying the city. At one point I ended up going to the Cliffs of Dover, took the train to the city, and it was pretty much an entire day of hiking up those cliffs that you see in the background. This port is very active. There were cruises lined up.
Really one of the steepest hills I've ever climbed.
And I got very fortunate because it only drizzled very lightly in the morning, and then the sun came out and I was just in heaven.
It's a nice house.
Well, heaven and hell, I guess, because the climb was so steep.
Oh. Okay, so
I felt like I was going to lose
climbing
both my lungs.
up to the Cliffs of Dover, and damn, is it a hike.
You can hear the strain in my voice, but I did expect that it was going to be very tough. Unfortunately, I didn't finish the entire trail.
This is the part where I didn't want to
I
take.
rarely get vertigo, but I did in this section because that one area was so unprotected and the fall was incredibly steep. I did get a chance to eat and enjoy some of the views.
I'm literally walking on the narrowest path. Right on the other side of these bushes is a drop all the way down. So I'm gonna be really careful here. Not child's play whatsoever.
I really had been looking forward to visiting the Cliffs of Dover for years,
Okay, I just got
probably
towards
since
that
my Harry Potter
little
era.
This is where I turned around at the beginning. I tried to climb up this section and I couldn't. It was too steep. There's another one up there that I climbed And well, I'm on my way back now, so I made it.
I wish I would have done 2 days of this in the countryside, but sometimes you don't know. This was fine for like a first time adventure. I missed London so much, but this was really where my ankle said no mas. Had to buy myself some shoes to be able to walk around, even to get to the Lion King, which I had been dying to see for years, probably since I lived there. And this is when the Londoners said, "We too are giving the FU to COVID." On the morning of my last day there, I actually stopped by Kensington Palace and took a quick tour, which I kind of regret because I paid money for it and it was not that great. I took my sweet time to get to the airport, only to realize that I wasn't going to be able to fly to Portugal to catch my next flight to New York City because Portugal had changed its COVID regulations last minute. So I ended up staying in London for a few extra days. Eventually, though, I did end up being able to book a flight directly from London to New York, and that was pretty much how I ended my European tour of 2021. Thank you so much for watching.